Welcome to FinOps in Action. I'm your host, Alon Arvatz. Each week, I'll sit down with FinOps experts to explore the toughest challenges between FinOps and engineering. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with deep detection and remediation tools that drive action. Hello, everyone. Today, I have a very special guest whom I first met at FinOps X Europe last year. He started his career specializing in data center until he realized that the future is in the cloud. Today, he's the ambassador of the FinOps Foundation in Portugal and beyond, and a senior manager for Cloud FinOps at Saint-Gobain. I'm happy to welcome Angel Alves. Angel, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me here.
Great. So, Angel, what should be the FinOps practitioner's top priority?
So I will say it's about people, right? It's about building a community. It's about being a trusted member of that community. Otherwise, basically, no one will listen about what you have to say, right? I believe that many people in our area have been focused in building pretty reports, but at the end, just a simple conversation can be much more efficient than a very pretty slide, right? So I will say that it should be core priority number one, which, by the way, not just for FinOps, but mainly about FinOps, since we have to all of these cultural practice that we have to change, a new paradigm and so on. I think that building a community and building relationship with people, it should be top priority for every professional in our space.
And I would say that this is actually a pretty surprising answer. I would guess that people will say it's a technology problem because you need to, make sure you get the most out of your cloud. So would you say that like the human aspect is a top priority?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, technology, it's something you can study. A lot of people knows about technology, so it's not so hard to deal with technology. But dealing with humans and making sure that all the humans and all the members on the team are working on the same purpose, have the same objectives aligned, and they understand each other challenges and advantages, then it's when the magic happens.
And would you also say that for a FinOps practitioner, it's more important to have the right soft skills in place rather than the technical skills? And what are the soft skills that a FinOps practitioner has to have?
Definitely, soft skills are more important. I mean, hard skills, once again, can be learned, right? There is a lot of training material. There is a lot of people that you can discuss about. You can go to the cloud providers, you can go to the different engineers and learn from each other. Uh, the soft skills that you need to understand, it's maybe just to create those relationships with people, right? How to be a more human, approachable person than anything else. So you need to understand why others are suffering, because at the end, FinOps, it's putting a lot of struggle, a lot of pressure on many teams, on many people, right? We have a top-down priority saying we have to reduce costs or optimize margins, whatever it is. And then we need to understand why this is not happening naturally, because, I mean, I don't know anyone that is purposely wasting money to the company, right? They have just different challenges and they just focus on not being wake up at night because the system is down or something like that. So at the end, that's the main priority or the skill that people need to understand. It's how to relate with other humans and communication, because once again, we are dealing with people from different natures, from finance, executives, project managers, product managers, engineers, and they all speak different languages. Okay, even if they share the same country language, English, Hebrew, Spanish, whatever it is, at the end they use different terminologies to describe the same. So it's really important that we are able to connect all of those dots in order to build this community that everyone trusts to each other.
And you said something very interesting in the beginning. You said relationship with engineers and with your cloud provider. So we talked on this podcast a lot about the relationship and the challenges of engaging with engineers, but I haven't heard anyone talking about the relationship with the cloud provider. I'm sure it's complicated. Like they're on your side sometimes, but maybe not always, because in the end of the day, there is some business aspect you need to solve. So how do you build a relationship with your cloud providers?
So something that people don't ask frequently, right? So let's put it, we are in the negotiation table with the cloud providers. Okay, we know they want more money from the customers. It's business. But I never saw anyone asking, what does the cloud provider need from us, right? Because from all the cloud providers I have worked with, account managers and other roles as well, they are really focused in helping the customers. If they have to reduce the cloud bill, that's not a challenge for them, right? So if we can optimize, that's not a challenge for them. That they don't care if tomorrow we have an optimization of 50%, that's not their main objective. But then if we ask them what is their core, what is their objective for the year, right? What are they trying maybe to upsell some level of product? Maybe they just need to launch a new big project with us. So it's these kind of things that we need to first understand also from their side, because it's typically not just a dollar amount they are looking for, right? They are looking for, okay, there is this new product that is strategic for the company. Just to give an example, a practical one, Microsoft has launched, I believe, last year, Microsoft Fabric, and it was a strategic product for them, right? So they wanted to sell that. They wanted to push customers to use that. And so by trying to understand this, okay, give me the tools I need to use Fabric. Okay, what I as a customer need to adopt Fabric? Is it discounts? Is it credits? Is it professional services? So this is the trade-off that I see. People don't focus much in asking the cloud providers, but at the end, of course, they have their objectives. And as I mentioned, it's typically not translated in that the customer needs to spend more money with them. It's a different one. It's a long-term relationship. They are looking for the next 10 to 20 years, not just for the next year. So this is the things that I think that people need to improve a bit better, and also from the cloud providers to be transparent on what they are looking for, because it's typically not transparent. So the customer might look, okay, they need more money from us, right? They need just to upsell more, to raise the stocks, and so on and so on. But it's typically not that simple. So building this relationship, this trust relationship, where everyone can win, it's very, very, very good at the end.
And it's very interesting that you started with the cloud provider wants to help you spend more. So the fact that, people like you can say it on a vendor, it's amazing. And I have to tell you, I hear it from a lot of practitioners that this is how they, perceive and experience their cloud providers. So they're able to do a very good job from that perspective. Kudos to them. And you put a lot of, emphasis on creating the alignment between the cloud provider and your interests. Are there areas where you come to the cloud provider with demands to help you do things better or deliver things that you expect them to deliver?
Yes, absolutely. So let's face it, they are the experts in their area, right? They know how everything is built on the background. They know their roadmap that typically they don't share it, or even under NDA, they don't share it fully. So definitely we need from their side their expertise. We need their tools. We need their people, just to make sure that we are in the right direction. Just to make sure that we are really using the best technology out there available for us, right? So yeah, I go there often to the cloud providers with the challenges we are facing, not just from a FinOps perspective, but other challenges that are out there, trying to understand how they can help. It's not always that they can help or that their solution is the most efficient, but at least it's another data that otherwise we will not get, because typically it's protected under NDA or it's not spread widely.
Very interesting. And Angel, let's go back to the basics. Engagement with engineers, a hot topic right now. And I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the biggest mistakes finance practitioners make when they engage with engineers?
Yeah, so the FinOps practitioners and leaders have been in a very good position in the last years, okay, which is being closer to the top management of their organizations. And sometimes it feels like they are in a higher rank than other members of the team, like the engineers, which often they don't have the same stage as the FinOps teams have, right? They are more protected, work in the backstage, and the FinOps member are more upfront, more to the top management, sharing all the nice reports and so on. So my recommendation, if I may say, is that the FinOps practitioner needs to be more at contact with the engineers, at the going back to my previous point, to human level, right? Understand the challenges. What are they working on? There isn't there isn't a magic bullet or a silver bullet on how to connect with people. And nowadays, it's a big challenging with the remote working. I know it's very controversial, the remote versus go back to the office and so on. But I'm a big fan of having the insights conversations. I find particularly helpful to have the conversations next to the coffee machine because there is no script, right? We can talk about anything. And typically, we will talk about some business concerns and so on that otherwise we will not discuss them in another meeting because the challenge with the meetings, especially the online ones, is that they come with a script, right? This is the topic we will discuss, and this is what we have to conclude on the meeting. Period. We have 30 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is, and that's what we have to discuss there. There is no room to escape from that script. If we look at the coffee discussions, that's completely the opposite, right? You go there, you can talk about the weather, you can talk about the business decision, you can talk about whatever you want. And it's quite often that you will get a lot of insights at the just sharing a coffee, right? And that's one of the things that I like most to be in the office. It's just to spend time with my team and my peers, with my other teams around me, and trying to understand the challenges and try to help them, even if it's not a FinOps topic, to help them with my previous expertise and my current expertise on solving some issues, unlocking, just making questions like mentoring style. So I find it very valuable.
That's very interesting, the perspective about the coffee discussions and talking about coffee and weather. Honestly, I wish to talk about Portugal weather right now versus New Jersey weather, honestly, so I'm pretty jealous of you. And one insight that I would be happy to hear from you is around the technical level you expect from you or from a FinOps team to have. So to have these conversation with engineering, have effective conversations, do you feel like you need to have a certain technical level, or maybe the opposite, like that's your job, that's my job, each of us is doing something different, and we respect that.
Okay, first, we cannot impose our skills, right? Even if I'm coming or not from an engineer background, I have faced many challenges in the past and so on. We want to unlock potential of others, right? That's the main thing. It's like being a mentor as a full time. One thing that I really appreciate when we are looking at problems, and I do it on my personal level, it's to make analogies. So I don't need to be an expert to come up with an analogy for a problem. And typically, with analogies, we can find solutions with the day to day examples to a technical problem, right? So, once again, you don't need to be an expert on a technical field, but you can make the right questions, you can compare with other situations, and try to unlock the potential of those members on the team. Just to give you a basic example of why me, as a non-technical expert, um, unlocked a discussion quite recently in the past weeks. We were in the coffee area, once again, after lunch. So there was a lot of people in the coffee area, and we were facing a challenge in our environment. And we had there the main stakeholders needed to solve the discussion, to solve the issue. So to name a few, we had architects, we had engineers, we had security specialists. So there was a lot of people over there. So I just made questions, open, public, loud. Let's talk about this. And I said, oh, why are we going on this approach? Why not the other one? And then I pointed to the other person. Have you considered about this? Is this something acceptable? And that's it. During 10 minutes, we solved what will be a big problem that will take some weeks with meetings, offline discussions, and so on, just by opening it out there. So I don't believe people need to be experts. What I believe people, it's they should not pretend they are experts. That's very dangerous because that will destroy the confidence people have on you. Just be simple, make day-to-day analogies, make questions, and that the conversation will flow within the experts in the room.
And I'm sure that in the coffee area, people also lower their defenses. So you can have a lot more open and transparent discussion.
Exactly. It's not recorded, it's not written, it's not anything, but at the end, if there is a consensus, people will be able to sign off at the end. So yes.
That's actually a great tip for the community. And Angel, you have a very interesting experience because now you work in a very, very big enterprise, Saint-Gobain, but you also have some experience from smaller companies. So you used to work at Fidzai, which is a lot smaller company. I wonder, how do you compare doing FinOps in two so different companies, and whether or not the work and interaction with engineers change between this type of company to a bigger type of company?
Yeah. So just to give you a bit of a background of the companies themselves. So at the moment, as you say correctly, I'm part of Saint-Gobain. Saint-Gobain, it's a very large company with a rich story. It's this year will be the year 360 of existence of the company, and we have many businesses that are part of the group that we have to deal with. Just IT itself is charging back 900 different legal entities within the group.
Wow.
So this is the size of the group. If I go back to Fidzai, as you mentioned, it's now quite a big company. It started as a startup maybe over 15 years ago, give or take. When I joined, I was the employee like 500. In Saint-Gobain, we are over 160,000 over the world. So it's a big difference. But to to make it simple in terms of difference of startups or a product company and an enterprise IT, it's that on the product company, it's about making money. It's about cloud. It's there to make money. FinOps is there to enable making money. In an enterprise, is to save money. And this is not just a wording world. It's really changed the mindsets, and the opportunities are really different. So, from my experience, just to give the example, um, for a product company, a SaaS player, whatever it is, the cloud spend it's within the top three expenses in the company, right? It's typically people, cloud, and then depending on the market you are, like if you are Spotify, probably music royalties and so on. But cloud, it's typically within the three top expense. And then in enterprise, cloud should not be listed at top spends at all, right? Like if you are in retail, you have, of course, your facilities, warehouses, people, stock. If you are in manufacturing, which is my case in Saint-Gobain, I mean, just the cost of electricity, it's amazing, right? So, it's out of this world to have some furnaces open and connected 24 by 7. We have raw material, we have a lot. So the IT cost by itself needs to be very short. And then, of course, cloud should not be reported in the board meetings or whatever like that, right? And this is, of course, a big change. So cloud, it's an enabler for an enterprise. And for a product company, it's the source of revenue. So this change everything. Starts with the metrics, as an example. So if you are in a product company, you need to make sure that the cloud costs are reported because they are really impacting the business. It's how you can calculate margins and all of that, right? So when you are calculating the cost of your product, a big part of that will be cloud costs. Therefore, FinOps has, of course, a big say in that metric. It's impacting the board meetings and the board presentations with stakeholders, shareholders, and all of that, right? In an enterprise, that's not the case, right? So of course, it's good to have the vanity metrics to show how much we are saving to the company and the cost of opportunities, so how much opportunities are being locked by cloud. But it's never the same as saying, no, with cloud we are making 1 million, 2 millions, whatever number it is, right? It's pretty much different. It's also different from a know-how perspective. So in a product company, you need to be an expert as well on your product. You need to understand your product very well, understand all the different behaviors. What can lead to a deviation in that behavior? On enterprise, it's simply not possible, right? You have hundreds of different applications, so you will not know how each single application behaves versus the other, or why the cost today it's higher, or why today you are having more traffic than yesterday. So what you need to build, it's not a very know-how on the products or the applications, but yes, on the people. You need to find the mechanism to share the reliable information, the reliable opportunities with the application owners. They are the ones that really know about how their application should behave. And that's probably why point 5 might have better traction with enterprises versus uh, um, um, uh, product companies, simply because the practitioners need to have a reliable way of sharing this information that is trusted with their application owners, right? And that's it. That's pretty much, if I may say, the big differences and the main focus that people need to have one versus the other. From my experience, once again, I don't have hundreds of different companies to compare with, but at least these two. And previous to Saint-Gobain and previous to Fitzai, I was also in Nokia, which is another large enterprise, and pretty much the same challenges as Saint-Gobain, just a bit not as big in terms of scale, in terms of stakeholders, different number of applications, and so on, but pretty much the same challenges. And then I will say what is the same, right? Because at the end, not everything is different. It's not like, okay, if you are coming from an enterprise, you should not go for a product or vice versa. There is a lot of this the same, okay? And there are two things that are quite relevant no matter which environment you are. First, relationships. You still need to rely on the relationships with the stakeholders. Just will be different kind of stakeholders. And the cost visibility, which is relevant no matter what it's your ecosystem. The people around you need to understand how how they can impact the costs positively or negative, and they need to understand what is their impact on the overall costs.
Very interesting. And I'm taking it to one of the first thing you said. You said that in product companies or SaaS companies, the motivation comes from the incentive to improve your gross margins. While in an enterprise, the incentive comes more, or the motivation comes more from, saving on costs and reducing costs for the business. Where do you feel that you got more attention and a push from management, okay, to do your job in a product company where the incentive is to improve your gross margins, or an enterprise where it's about saving money?
I will say attention wise, I've been lucky enough that I got attention from both sides. Now, if I may say, the relevancy for the business and the level of what people are looking for the information, definitely from a product company, it's where people are more focused. In it's You feel the impact you are having in the business, right? You feel that if you are able to have better margins, that will be good for the shares, will be good for the position of the company. You might even decrease the cost of your product. So there is a lot of opportunities. On the enterprise, it's good to show we are saving money, we are doing a very good job, but it doesn't bring the same level of impact business wise.
Gotcha. And something, Yoncha, that I'm just curious about, you mentioned that in Saint-Gobain you have hundreds of applications and application owners. I wonder if from you, or from your perspective as a finance practitioner, there is a challenge to actually know who owns what. So assuming you want to, you know, provide visibility or do cost optimization, is it also a challenge to know like who owns what?
There is that challenge, and of course, we try to do it as best as we can with the tags, with identifying the application owner, and so on. But we also have to put in the table uh, different aspects, which is rotation of people, right? So you have someone that built an application and just went away from the company. So who is replacing this person on this scope? Reorganizations where people move from teams to team to another team, and then you might be left with some orphan applications in the middle. You have companies that are hired just to build an application and to maintain it during a certain period of time, then they leave. And of course, this becomes a challenge over time, right? Luckily, in Saint-Gobain, there is a big effort to maintain a good application lifecycle management, where we have a good and solid database for the applications that are hosted, where we can go back there and see who is the owner of that. And if nothing else, we can see which is the business that is responsible for the application. So we can go to the top level of that business, being the CIO in this case, in terms of technology, and just ask them, right, who is responsible, or just tell them that we have the challenge, that there is a big opportunity for optimization or whatever it is. And then we can go back and find someone that is responsible. We are also in a lucky position that cloud adoption is quite recent. So we don't have so much rotation or people leaving and leaving the orphan applications. But definitely this is something that it's very concerning over time. And we see that, as you mentioned, I'm coming from data center technologies and environments. And I haven't been in a company where people don't have a case of a server they don't know what is doing. No one wants to shut it down because they don't know what is running there, or sometimes they shut it down and something else will fail. So people are afraid of touching that. Sooner or later, this will start becoming more and more frequent in cloud. It's just pretty recent, at least in the Saint-Gobain aspect.
That's totally understood. And Angel, you're a FinOps Foundation ambassador. Can you educate us on what does that mean?
Yes. So being ambassador, it's honorary title. I will put it like that. That the foundation has attributed to people that are actively contributing to the community. So basically, I just have the chance to meet incredible people and connect them, right, to each other, to make sure that they are advancing in their careers, which is an amazing job. So it's like being a member of a tribe, right? Unfortunately, due to my professional and personal life, I haven't been able to dedicate more time to this. I've been quite busy, but definitely it's something I want to continue to contributing to the community, because I truly believe that has been done a great job in helping people being better at that job at the end, right? This has benefits I cannot measure. I mean, people finding new jobs or even advancing in their own profession, understanding the role. It's really, really great to see how other people, right, in the community, it's helping each other with nothing in return, right? They just like to help people. Um, at right now, maybe the situation is changing just a bit, changing slowly, I would say. But if we look just a couple of years back, working as a FinOps practitioner was a job that one person was doing as a part time, right, in their own company. There was an engineer that was doing FinOps, or there could be a project manager doing FinOps. So it was always something that started very small, and then now it's growing, and we have full teams with directors and different levels in their team and so on. But at the beginning, it wasn't like that, right? It was single person, not even fully dedicated. So they had no one in their company that could actually discuss FinOps related issues, techniques, solutions, and so on. So it was great to have this community where people can go there and contribute and helping each other, sharing stories. So it's like having an augmented team with a lot of experience, because we combine experience from different companies sizes, technologies, and so on. So it was great since the beginning to have this augmented team of people that were just willing to help for the sake of helping others.
And I can really relate to everything you say. I can tell you that I'm also new to the FinOps community. I'm just like a few years into the community. And I really feel how everyone are really nice and helpful and open to discuss and share. And it's absolutely amazing to join a community like that. Do you feel that the community also supported you, developing you on the personal or professional level?
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I started doing FinOps, I knew nothing about FinOps. I was responsible for the service enablement of public cloud in Nokia, and that was my first source of information about, okay, what do I do now with these costs? I have a immense bill. What I do this with this, and the framework that once again was built by the people working on the ground, not just by a top level consultancy that made some paper, right? It helped me immensely to organize and structure the practice in the different companies, to make sure that we have a common language with the different cloud providers, that we are all in the same direction. So definitely it speed up my growth and the way that I adopted FinOps in the different organizations by a lot. I cannot measure it, of course, but it was as something that helped me a lot to advance my career, to make sure that I'm recognized as a valuable member of the community, and even internally with all the knowledge that I have acquired through the community as well.
Yes, and again, I can totally relate, and kudos to the foundation for supporting all of us. And Angel, you share with us a lot on the professional level. Now let's talk a bit about you. So you're actually originally from Spain and currently living in Lisbon, Portugal, correct?
Correct. So yes, that's my an unusual name. Angel, it's coming from Spain, right? But I moved to Portugal when I was still a kid, and I have spent most of my life here and married with a Portuguese lady.
Oh, that's nice. And your first language is Spanish or Portuguese?
Yeah, now unfortunately or fortunately, depending how we see that, I believe my Portuguese is better than Spanish. I still need more opportunities to practice it. But yeah, I can still speak Spanish, not as fluent, as fast as a normal Spanish person will, but yeah, I can hold the discussions perfectly normal.
I told you that once, I will tell that again. I'm really jealous of the weather you have right now because I'm really suffering for what's going on now in New Jersey. So that's good for you. And you actually went to university to study electronics, but at some point you moved to IT, right? How did that happen?
Correct. So first, I was never a big fan of studying. Okay, so I was there for a semester, and then I decided it wasn't moving fast enough for me. I was studying a lot of topics that I didn't have really interest. So what I started considering was what is the quickest path for a professional career. I didn't want to hold 3 years to come up with a university with a diploma, but at the end I wouldn't be able to fully function as a professional. So I was looking for alternatives on how I can speed up my go-to market. And the path I found was to drop the university. I was already working at the time and start doing Microsoft certifications. So that was really what bring me into the enterprise IT world. And I will say that even as of now, the knowledge I acquired through those certifications, even if it was like 15 years or more years ago, it was I still put it in practice, right? The baseline technology, the terms that I learn are still very valuable as of now. So definitely best decision I have ever taken for my professional career. It was to drop out from the university at the time and just to find a quick pace. Not that I'm saying that everyone should do that. I think university is great, does give a lot of advantage in ways of thinking, in the knowledge that you get, and so on. It just for me, it wasn't really the quickest path, and I was feeling that I was losing my time over there. So I needed, from my own pace, from my own rhythm, I needed the fastest getaway from it.
I agree. And actually, I had a very similar experience with university. So very quickly, I felt like I don't have, patience for all the lectures and all the student work. And I just started getting into entrepreneurship. Actually, my first venture was a nonprofit for financial literacy for teenagers. And at some point, I founded Insight, which was my first cybersecurity startup. And at that point, I dropped out of school as well. And continued my entrepreneurial career. So I can definitely relate to that. And Angel, if you had chosen a different path in your career that is not FinOps, what would it be?
Look, I like money, okay? Not just in the normal way of having it and spending it, but actually understand how it works and the purpose of money. Just as an example, many people see money as something that they can accumulate, right? But indeed, money is something to exchange. To you get money in exchange of a product or a service that you provide, and you use it to acquire products and services. That's how it works. Storing money is like storing the apples, the fruit, not the company even. In a few weeks, you will lose all the value, and the same happens with money. It's just in a different time frame, especially to inflation, right? So this is the kind of things that I like to understand about money. Again, it's of course having it is quite useful, but it's more about understanding how it works and the purpose of money. So if I could go back and choose complete different, it will be something related with money and how to optimize it, pretty much. So I think I will become a fiscal lawyer. So I like to understand all the taxes, again, inflation, how companies operate, and all of that. So it's something that I like to understand on my personal time. I do meet a lot of entrepreneurs and different business people, and I like having these kind of boring discussions for many people. But yeah, for me are quite interesting, and I like to really to understand it.
Yeah, me too. And I can tell you that whenever I read something that is outside of business and technology, it will almost always be around macroeconomics. So that is my hobby and my area of interest outside of my day job. And Angela, so what do you do outside of work?
So outside of work, yeah, I can give the traditional answer of spending time with my family, which I love, of course, no question about it. But just to point something different as well, I can point out about my passion for cars. And once again, I don't need or I don't want the most expensive car out there. I just want a car that I can have fun, take it to the racetrack, and spend time with friends in the community, right? Unfortunately, I had to sell my last sports car a few years back to build a house. It's still being built, but yeah, once it's completed, I will probably go out there in the market to find my next sports car to have some fun with it.
So Angel, when you have your new sports car, let me know. I might plan a trip to Portugal.
Absolutely, I will let you know. We can go to the racetrack if you are fancy about it and have some fun there.
So I've never done it, but I would absolutely love to try it one day. Great. That's been amazing and fascinating, Angel. Thank you for sharing all of your experience. If our listeners want to reach out to you and ask more questions, what is the best way? Is it LinkedIn?
Yeah, I will say that's the simplest one, right? You can go to LinkedIn. If you find my name and you put FinOps, you will find it for sure. I'm of course also on Slack, on the FinOps community Slack. I'm also reachable over there. And then yeah, we can continue contacts through other ways, but those are the easiest paths to find me.
So, to all our listeners, I hope you captured it. This is real gold. If you want some more advice and insights from Angel, LinkedIn or the Slack of the Finos Foundation is the best way to reach out. Angel, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Alan, for having me.
No problem. It was really fascinating and I learned a lot. I would also like to thank our listeners. If you learned something or had fun or had a nice laugh, please tell about FinOps in action to your friends. Angel, thank you again. This has been another very exciting and interesting episode of FinOps in Action. See you next time. That wraps up another episode of FinOps in Action. Thank you for joining. For show notes and more, please visit finopsinaction.com. This show is brought to you by Point 5, empowering teams to optimize cloud costs with tip detection and remediation tools that drive action.